Hello, Professor. Good morning. My name is Kelvin, and today I'm going to continue talking about the most relevant event in the history of English languages. Well, I'm going to start talking about the Old English. The most relevant events during the Old English period are fundamental in shaping the English language, culture, and society. Here are some key historical and cultural events of this period. For example, the Anglo-Saxon settlement during the years 4, 450 to 50 years after the withdrawal of Roman forces from British Germany, tribes such as Anglo-Saxon and Jews migrate to the British island. These settlers brought their own languages, which combined to form the basis of all English. The Christianization of England during 597. Saint Augustine of Canterbury arrived in Kent in 597 CA to convert King Engelbert and his people to Christianity. Christianity introduced Latin learning, literacy, and ecclesiastical traditions, influences of all English vocabulary and literacies. The Viking rise and settlements during the century 8th to 11th. Starting in the latest 8th centuries, Norse Vikings rights described Anglo-Saxon life. The Norse invasions brought linguistic influence and led to the Danelaw regions under Viking controls where Norse cultures blend with Anglo-Saxon traditions. And also, another relevant event was the reign of King Alfred the Great during the age 871 to 899. Alfred defeated Wessex from Viking invasion and promoted learning and literacy. He translated important Latin texts into the Old English, laying the groundwork for English process traditions. Also, the codification of all English literatures during the 9th century to 10th centuries. Key texts such as Beowulf, the Anglo-Saxon chronicles, and religions poetry like the Dreams of the Rood were composed. The use of the Old English script, including runes and later the Latin alphabet, preserved these works. Another relevant event was the Norman conquest during the 1066 years, the invasion by William the Conqueror at the Anglo-Saxon era. All English began to the transition into the Middle English due to the Norman French influence on vocabulary, governances, and cultures. These events were crucial in the development of the English language and laid the foundations for the evolution of the medieval English. Now I continue talking about the most relevant event in the foreign influence of Old English. The Old English period, approximately 450 to 1500 AD, was made by significant foreign influence that shaped it in vocabulary, grammar, and cultural context. This influence comes primarily from key sources. For example, Celtics influenced. Historical context, the Anglo-Saxon migrated to British, displacing of assigning the native Celtic populations. Impact. Celtic influence on Old English was relatively minor due to the dominance of Anglo-Saxon cultures. However, some places named, for example, Avona, meaning rivers, and Feus, lexical borrowing entered Old English. Celtic language contribute to the naming of geography features, especially river hills and settlement. Then have a Latin influence, like for example, first wave Roman British Roman occupation of Britain during the 443 years to 4 410 introduced Latins to the Celtics inhabitants. And now I continue talking about the most relevant event in the Norman Conquest. Well, the most relevant event in the Norman Conquest in Battles of Hastings, which took place on October 14th, 1066. This pivotal battle makes the civive history of William, Duke of Normandy, let known as William the Conqueror, is known as William the Conqueror, over King Harold II of England. The Norman conquest began after the death of Edward the Confessor in January of 1066, leaving the English through contest. Harold Godwinson was crowned king, but William of Normandy claimed that Edward had promised the throne to him. The conflict intensified after Harold Hardrada of Norway also claimed the throne and invaded Norman England, leading to the Harold II visitor at the Battle of Stonebridge of September 25. Now I continue talking about the most relevant event in the reestablishment of English during the 1200 to 1250. The period between 100 and 150 is significant in the history of the English language, as it makes the re-establishment of English as a dominant language in England after a long period of Norman French influence following the Norman conquest. Key events and development during these times included, well, we have here the decline of Norman French, 12th century to 13th centuries. After the Norman conquest, Norman French became the language of the ruling elite and administrations, while Old English continued to be spoken by the Norman people. Over time, Norman French lost in status due to factors like intermarriages, political isolations from Normandy after King John's lost Normandy in 2004, and the inclining influence of English-speaking subjects. Now I continue talking about the most relevant event in the Middle English period and Renaissance. The Middle English period, approximately 1100 to 1500, and the Renaissance, approximately 4 centuries to 7 centuries, were marked by significant historical, cultural, and linguistic change. Here are some most relevant events and development for each period. For example, Middle English period. Magna Carta. The signing of the Magna Carta by King John marked a key moment in limited royal power and establishing the foundations of conditional government in England. The rise of vernacular literature. The use of English in literature became more prominent, exemplified by the Canterbury Tales of Geoffrey. Chaucer's works are foundational the development of English literature traditions. Also, in this period is introduced the introduction of the printing press. During the 1476, William Caxton introduced the printing press to England, standardizing English spelling and grammar and promoting the spread of literature. Well, and finally, we are going talking about the most relevant event in the modern English. The most relevant event in the development of the modern English in the Great Vowel Shift, roughly from the 4th to 8th century. This was a major series of change in the pronunciation of the vowels of English, which significantly altered the phonetic of the language, helping to shape the English we speak today. The shift transformed the way long vowels were pronounced. For example, the Middle English pronunciations of words like bite and meat shifted to the modern pronunciation we use today. I played a crucial role in distinguishing modern English from Middle English, both in sound and saw some excellent in spelling. Well, thank you, teacher, for your class. This is my final assignment. This is my video. My name is Kelvin, and thank you.